It's been over a year since the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata series has raced at Summit Point, but it's a venue well known to all who've decided to join iRacing as one of the free first circuits made available to new members. From the early 70s through the 80s, it hosted a number of pro races and was an early favorite of one P.L. Newman when he ran the Bob Sharp repaired Datsun 510. Since the late 80s, however, it rarely holds any pro events, but it has become a very popular destination for various club racing groups and vintage and historic series. And the reason is, it's a wonderful test of driver skill. The track is surprisingly technical in nature, with abrupt elevation changes, and it's hard on tires. It also is unusually long for a club track. Well, tonight it welcomes round 2 of the Full Send Sim Series' 3rd season of 2024. Hi all, and welcome to Summit Point.
This is a fantastic little racetrack, Greg. 2.1 miles, 10 corners around here. Yeah, it hasn't been on a lot of pro schedules as of late, but the challenges around this place are numerous. It's a completely different racetrack in the first sector versus the second. It's got a super long straightaway, longer than that of Watkins Glen's backstretch, even if you take out the bus stop. So there's lots of high speed here. There's a lot of handling sections and a couple passing opportunities, but one down at turn 5 that can get you into some trouble.
Yeah, that one's a little tricky. You have to pull it off. It's got to surprise somebody. But the interesting thing, too, is there's 40 feet of elevation change here, and it comes abruptly. As you enter into turn 3, it dips and then climbs really abruptly, then falls into that turn 5 you were talking about. And then that whole 6, 7, 8 sequence, really you have to get that right so that you exit 9 with a full head of steam, because you then chop on down to turn 10, which is a critically important corner, because that straight, Kyle, I think it measures almost 3,000 feet. It is a long one.
And depending on how you measure it, even a little longer than that, 3,072 by Google Earth standards. But there's a look at it, and it is a long one. And it's got a dotted line right down the center, but pay no mind to that. You'll be changing lanes 3, 4, 5 times. No blinkers involved with this lane change, Greg, as you rumble on down there. This start is always frantic. It gets you into trouble. Let's have a look here at the track map, though. As we mentioned, a couple very distinct sectors, and that middle sector with that run from 5 through 7 is incredibly challenging. You're going to grate those tires. Even though it's not immensely hot here today, it can wear out those tires pretty quickly.
Yeah, they call that the wagon wheel, and with good reason. It's a rough run through there in terms of technical and the abuse of tires. But the big thing is to notice turn 1. Obviously, with that long straight, not a lot of speed loss in turn 10. So you're going really fast into turn 1, and it is very much an increasing radius corner. So if you turn in too early, you're just going to push right off. You just want to turn in just right. You don't want to super does allow is a little bit of side-by-side into and through that corner if you get it right. And that's where it's going to be fun. You can see that little elevation drop coming out of the pits in the background. And then, of course, here is the entry to turn 1. And in these cars, they are going to just be chucking it in there. I would think it should be spectacular.
Well, qualifying is underway tonight for a second round of our 3rd season of 2024. And some prizes to announce a little bit later as far as hardware prizes and things of the sort for this next season, but we're still fresh out of the action from Barber Motorsports Park last week, where it was Morgan Burkhardt that won a couple of races in a row, one of them in a fairly dominant fashion. But tonight, I don't see Morgan here this evening as of yet, and Jeremy Fairbairn, a relatively new name, or we've seen him on occasion, jumps right up to the top over Camden Hibbett, so a different challenger has appeared in that number 87.
Yeah, when we did see Jeremy, he was fast. There was no question about that. He had a couple of really, really solid runs. And so I'm not surprised to see him being a competitive and right up on top here, or near the top, but to see him right on the sharp edge. And he has got Camden Hibbett right behind him. And here we go. This is that tricky little run here. Here's turn 5. And you drop down into it. You can see you can make an outside pass in 4, but here's where if you really get it right, you can dive down the inside and make something. But this is that section you were talking about, Kyle. Hard on tires, really tricky, goes on forever, and you've got to be on the right line so that as you flick through 8 here, you're in the right position to really set sail through 9.
And this is one of those corners that is so on edge. If you don't hit it right, you can't stay flat. And because This leads into turn 10, which is one of the fastest corners on the racetrack, and then that 3,000-foot-long front straightaway. It's really the exit out of turn 8 and 9 where you build all of your speed, so you can't give up any momentum there. So if you're side by side, halfway through the lap, you're going to give up speed all the way through it. So it is absolutely critical to be quick through there. And then this long front straightaway, this is going to be king of the drafting tonight. Not quite like Daytona where you get it everywhere. One opportunity into an incredibly heavy braking zone. Making a prediction now, Greg, that more than one engine will get blown on the downshifts into turn 1.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised at all the way we heard a couple that were really close in practice, and I wouldn't be at all surprised there. Here's a nice aerial view, and I like this. And you can see how turn 3, when you turn in, you get the compression there, so you can really hustle it in there and get on the throttle sooner. But you see how it kind of comes back at you just a little bit, and you have to thus adjust your pattern, if you will, into that corner. And then the other part of it is here, when you get down into this 4-5 area, there's not a lot of runoff. Look in the background there. When you get in there, right in here, if you go off, usually it can be pretty big.
And if you go off and cut back onto the racetrack here and cut through the center of the wagon wheel, that is a drive-through penalty, or maybe even a stop in 30. Can't remember off the top of my head, but if you go off, you have to rejoin the racetrack just a little bit further down from where you went off. You can't just drive through it and slow down and rejoin. It will get you a penalty regardless. So that's something to note, especially when you outbrake yourself, which will happen. But as you pointed out in the intro, Greg, this is one of the first tracks that you drive at iRacing when you get the service, right alongside Lime Rock and Okayama and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So most drivers here will have a lot more experience on this track, for example, than some of the other ones on the calendar. And just to name a few of the tracks that you won't have a lot of experience on, as Spec Miata goes straight off at the exit of turn 1. For example, Willow Springs is a track that is new to the service and isn't necessarily a very sought-after track as far as a purchase. So that's a track that we head to next week that drivers will need a lot more time on to prep for.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, actually. And I'm going to give everybody a little reminder right now. If you need time on that, this Thursday night, there's a group practice at 7 p.m. Eastern time at Willow Springs. So if you need to get out there and spend a little time on that track, I would set that up on that on this coming Thursday night. But back to this here, Nicholas Rice-Budo has gone to the top by 1/10 of a second. So a pretty good lap there. And it looks like there's been some people that have set up some drafting partners. It looked like Olivier Piatek was really hauling Jeremy Fairbairn down that front straight and then just drove straight off so he wouldn't affect him at all getting into the braking zone. We've seen things like that happening here. Here's that tricky turn 3.
We'll be lucky.
You can run wide. Now in the background, you see somebody run really wide like that, and I've been trying to get an answer on it because we saw in practice some people just drive around the outside of people and doing that, and so I'm not convinced that that's legal, but we have not heard otherwise. So
yeah, the gravel isn't much of a dissuasion over there, at least here in iRacing, that's for sure. But you mentioned the draft on the front straightaway. It's a big advantage. I don't think it helps you a lot anywhere else on the course because you'll end up with that accordion effect into the braking zones and slow yourself down. And I think there is something to be said about drivers. I've seen, for example, Gresham Wagner do this in Toyota GR Cup where he'll just go out there by himself and qualify better than everybody just because he doesn't have that effect. So the draft can help you, but being in proximity can hurt you. And wanted to check in on Court Schmidt also because he has got quite the setup tonight. Have a look at that, Greg.
Wow. Well, that's for real, huh?
I don't know what size monitors those are, but they look like TVs at that scale.
Yeah, they look monsters. Boy, I mean, talk about full wraparound here. And yeah, it's a great time for us to be able to talk about Full Send Sims and Court, and obviously the title sponsor and the guy who envisioned and created the series, and those sims. What they build there, and they build entry-level sims. You can see one sort of sitting off on the right there. But then they will go all the way up to the absolute top level with, the big shaker rigs that have all the full motion. They even build rigs that will fit inside a race car shell if you want to get that into the reality of it. They do it all. And remember, he got all of his sim building and training skills in the military, where it is top-tier stuff. And then as a very avid road racer, he has incorporated all he learned in the military sim building into what he does for these rigs. And they are just remarkable. And we're so lucky to have him and have him decide to put this series on. And it's been a treat to be involved with it. It's certainly with the promotion that they do, and with the driver skill that's out there, it has attracted some incredibly top-tier drivers, hasn't it?
It has. A number of drivers from Toyota GR Cup and Global Mazda MX-5, and there's a handful of other drivers that have joined us from the ranks of IMSA, in the case of Morgan Burkhardt and SRO, and it's just really neat to see everyone pile in here, SCCA runoffs, competitors, and things of the sort. So really been exciting the last couple of seasons to watch it grow, and 32 cars here tonight. We'll start our two 20-minute races, and they are going to be pretty exciting to watch as Jeremy Fairbairn improves up to fourth that time through. Camden Hibbett is third. I don't hate being an odd number, though, Greg, because you'll start drivers right heading down to that first corner. I think that'll be an advantage come the opening moments of this. The other thing to note in consideration here in qualifying, look at where the pit lane is. You actually exit the pit lane right before the start line. So, if you can get a running start, you can get another quick lap in, even if you qualify late, which in the case of Leonardo Scorpione, he might have to do. He's run 4 laps, but none of them have counted for time, and he's only got 35 left. He will not get a qualifying time in, the only one of the 32 drivers who will not.
What a shame. He has been racing in the FARA Pro Spec Miata series and has been really impressive there as well. Just wanted to make a note here. Jose De Las Casas, he is 16th right now. He is having an absolutely great qualifying run in his number 717. There you see him sitting in the pit lane, but he really put together a great lap out there. It's great to see him up there. And of course, he is with FARA. He is one of the co-owners, the 3 co-owners of FARA, and they are now an official partner of this series as well. And what FARA does at their events in the real world racing is give both competitors and fans probably the cheapest yet most entertaining experience and bang for the buck you can get. And they have just excelled at that. Multi-class racing, they have formula cars, they have GT cars, they have prototypes, and then they have driver education as well. But they have been absolutely great. It's nice to have them along board with us. And then obviously we've got the sponsors that have been with us since day one. 3P Logistics, race car storage, maintenance, repair, transportation, full logistical support, and Final Turn Motorsports. They do full service prep shop and trackside support as well. Dyno tuning, front running chassis builder, partnered with the best engine builders in the Spec Miata category. And then Wine Country Motorsports, and they joined us midway through that first year. And they have the largest combined inventory of premium race gear brands in the country, and their customer service is the best in the business because they answer the phone when the internet competitors don't.
It's always great to have someone on the other end of the line. Whether you're talking to an internet provider or someone who sells you race car parts, I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
Well, down to the racetrack, and the grid is waiting for us. It will be a full pace lap around here behind the... Oh, or not. I don't see a pace car, which means that we might have a standing start. I don't think this was intentional, Greg, but we're going to have to roll with it. So starting from a stop, we got plenty of straightaway. That means we're going to go green pretty quick here, though, so no time to roll through the grid. And, boy, this is going to be a lot of fun. You better get through those gears nice and efficiently.
Yeah, we've got an offset, too, which would indicate a standing start, doesn't it? This is going to be interesting. It'll still be the 20-minute race, but, we'll get to see, as you said, the master of the shifts here. And everybody, you can use, from what I understand, a paddle or a sequential, but you've got to do the full clutch, which means you've got to click it, make the clutch, click it again. And we have seen even them have a few issues here. So just waiting for this one to get underway, but it's going to be Nicholas Rice-Puto on the pole, and he needs this. He had pole at the first one. He needs to make some points up in this one. We're green!
And a great launch there by the front runners. One car pulled off in the background. We're already 3 wide as the 55 of Murphy Nichols got a great lunge. This is not a procedure that we typically practice, Greg, but those that do are already excelling.
Yeah, doing a nice job here. And here's where you talked about Hibbett in that third spot, but he could not stay. He didn't get quite the good enough start to stay with Rice-Puto up front, and I think that is going to see Olivier. Yep, he has tucked into that second spot, and now he is coming after Nicholas Rice-Puto here, but it's going to be interesting to see. He just sweeps around the outside into turn 3. There's where he runs all over to spin. That is Beans Forster.
Oh.
in the back, and then a big carambolage. Beans up on his roof. Another car damaged right there.
Wow.
Can't tell the number on that one.
And more trouble into turn 4. Oh, gosh. Cars left and right up over the berm there.
Yeah.
And now the 155 of Cam Evans spun out. Skip Brock Jr. This is calamity.
Jeez, that's, Josh Soto is gone.
Look at the pit lane. Look how many cars are on the pit road here, Greg.
Look
at
about
this.
as many as that are on the track.
Oh, my gosh.
That was crazy.
We got through
Just
one,
crazy.
and we didn't get through much else.
Well, the interesting thing is, our steward, Andrew Benas, said in the notes, he said that the lap 1, turn 1 rule is in effect, where if you are involved in an accident, you're parked. Well, they all got through that corner, and it all happened in turn 3. But Piatek leading from Rice Pudo, Jeremy Fairbairn, Camden Hibbett, Jordan Rixagrini, and Jorge Ortiz, who didn't get to run with us for the last few races of last year, is back with us. He's always been quick. Nice move down to the inside there on Jordan Rixagrini. Jordan trying to float the outside with him and did it. And that's what I was talking about, Kyle, is the way that this corner works. If you position yourself right, here comes Fairbairn on Rice Pudo, squeezes him just enough where Nicholas has to sort of drop a tire onto the grass at turn in, and that is just enough to move you back, and it killed his momentum a little bit. Here comes Camden, and you can see that Nicholas just went to the left a little bit right there to dissuade Camden from trying anything. And the battle behind him is still on. And it looks like it'll be Rick Sagrini here as he finally gets a hold of it a little bit going into 6. But now, using the over-under, getting a little overlap, here comes Ortiz using the curb.
Oh, this is tight. You can't run through there side by side. Ortiz gets a little hip check from Rick Sagrini into turn 9, though. They're still door to door. That's tough to do, and they've done it.
That is
5th and 6th.
Really tough. And now, here's that little, it just bends a little bit. Oh, Camden gets a little hip check as well from Rice Pudo and floats a little bit wide. And look at that. Ortiz was able to get through on Rick Sagrini. We have a number of cars coming out of pit lane, so we're going to have traffic in this one, Kyle, really early compared to what we see usually.
All but 4 cars involved in the early lap crash are back on the racetrack. Dylan Lee, Josh Picari, Sawyer Richards, Johnny Morrow, and Josh Clatterbuck are out. Everyone else, though, is rejoining the course. There's Murphy Nichols in the 55. There's Camden Hibbett crossing over Rice Pudo here. We'll watch this battle, and I do have the incident tagged so we can go back and look at it. I doubt we'll be able to sort everything in a replay or two, Greg, but at least we'll see where it starts.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for Cam Evan, Bees Forrester, and Seth or Josh Soto, look at that in the background.
Gosh. Well, let's see if
wasn't that went right up and over the bank?
That was a little later, I think, here, but here's so the 77's alongside Forster up into turn 3. They're going to go off in here. They just make contact innocently on track, and then from here on out, wow.
Oh, man, that was seriously, that was Murphy Nichols was the other one that was there, but where's the right in the background here?
Let's see, well, there's Clatterbuck.
Yeah.
It all happened so fast. It was a blue car.
There was one car that in the approach to turn 5 went right up and over.
Deacon Greenfield? I think it might have been right here. He's going to get clipped. No, it wasn't him. There was someone else that did that.
Yeah,
and no, interestingly enough, there's a story that was told to me by, who was the gentleman that ran Pirelli GT4 America all those years, Greg?
Yeah. Oh, Scott Bove?
Different guy, older guy. I'm trying to remember his name.
Older guy.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Previous to Bove? You mean who?
After, I think.
After Bove.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember his name.
After Bove, I think it was Greg Gill.
No.
The only one that I'm aware of.
Just Pirelli GT4, the series lead.
Oh, okay.
It's driving me crazy.
Jack Baldwin.
Jack Baldwin. There we go. Thank you. He told me a story about how he crashed over there on the bank by turn 5, and nobody found him. He just climbed out and walked back over to the paddock. They still didn't know that he had crashed. They just couldn't figure out where he was because he had gone so far off course.
I believe it.
But
that was probably back, I don't know if that was Trans Am or IMSA.
I think he said Trans Am back in the day,
Yeah, and you imagine 800 horsepower Trans Am cars flogging around this place?
Well, that's why he ended up so far off track.
And in that era, there were 40 of them, so it was massive back here. But with all of that unfolding, Court Schmidt has moved his way up into 13th.
contact.
Jose De Las Casas up into 11th. What a run for Jose today.
Yeah, making good progress. Elliott Burton is as well, and we already documented Jorge Ortiz in the 311 making some moves there. Jim Friedhofer in that orange 89 is up to 14th after starting 25th. But hold that thought, because for the lead, Jeremy Fairbanner's run down Piatek here. Not enough position for an overlap, but he is close.
He is close. And the other guy who has really been impressive here, considering I think he was near dead last coming out, was Leonardo Escorpioni, 15th. He's gone through half the field here. Yes, he was helped by all that carnage, but still.
Broke through it.
One, he didn't get collected in it. That's says enough. Right now, they've dropped Jorge Ortiz just a little bit. And with him is Rick Zagrini. And there's Jose. Oh, I hate it when somebody goes off like that, because they come back on, they can just swat you.
Elliott Burton in a very brightly colored Draft Punk is what's on the side of that.
It.
That's great.
How fun is that?
P10, and he started back in 15th, so he's making some pretty good progress. And behind Arif Aziz, this is a relatively new competitor to our championship, up to 17th. He's got El Ducharme behind him. Ooh, little lunge into turn 5 there. That's a dicey place to outbreak yourself.
And I hate for what happened here to Deacon Greenfield, because he's sporting a very historic graphic package on his car, honoring the Mazda MX-7, not MX-7, RX-7, that ran at Le Mans, I think, in 1994. That had that armature, it's a slightly different colors, but that Courage Motorsport, all of that in the car. I love it when our drivers in the modern era here in these cars have a sense of history, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that was one of my last week projects for Grid Life, was to make some posters with some of the cars that harken back to different series and eras of motorsport, like BTCC and JTCC and ALMS, and some fun stuff coming that way. But when you can paint a car any color, why not do it in some historic colors, right?
Oh, absolutely. Have some fun with it. And Jose now is working through some traffic. That's Dylan Lee that he is chasing here, but Jose is up into 10th. And an absolutely great run.
Not a scratch on that car either, which is the important bit. But just watch this long right-hander. I mean, you have to get on power, track out to the edge. You're still turning, get to that apex. Now you can straighten out. You got to sling back to the left and set up for this turn 9. All this links together. If you get one corner wrong, it burns you all the way through.
Yeah, you can literally get behind in your steering, as I think it was David Pearson said once. But the issue is then you carry that deficit all the way down here, and here you do give a little bit of a lift, maybe just a dab on the brakes to plant the nose. But now, if you've been slow from 8 or 9 into 10, you're probably going to be a little off pace all the way down that incredibly long straight. Ooh, big lunge here down the inside of Wozencroft goes Skip Brock.
Don't know if it worked out the way that he was hoping for, but
he got through.
He looked panicked when I changed over to him.
Yeah.
It's one of those braking zones that you might accomplish what you want, but you can overheat tires so easily when you're deep in the ABS here. And you've got the pass, but it's so on edge there when you're going from so fast to so slow so quickly. If you miss your braking point by a foot, it's going to be another 10 feet that you miss your apex by.
Right, and the thing is, if you really overheat them, as you said, going into turn 1, right there, the touch, and that caught the 29. Oh, that's a shame for Jean Reyes.
Yeah, just tight quarters racing here, and side by side through turn 4 is so hard. But you'll see right here, he turns in, and he might have turned in a little too much.
I think so. I don't think he realized that he was there.
Yeah, it's tough. I've been in that position. I've gotten wrecked down there more times than I care to admit. And in my rookie days in iRacing, and a lot of it was just not leaving enough space. And it's not because you turned in, not expecting the car to be there. You did. If you didn't turn in early, you would end up way wide. So sometimes you just have to commit and hope the guy eats the curb on the inside. But if you eat that curb, then you wash up into the outside guy. So it's really lose-lose.
It's probably, you're not going to win in that scenario. Your best bet is just to, and you hate to do it, and race drivers do not like to, but sometimes you just got to get off the throttle a little bit.
Never.
And yeah. Well, yeah, never, and you're in the fence.
Right.
And speaking of Jack Baldwin, I remember one of the early years when I was announcing Trans Am as a series announcer, traveling with him. And at the end of the day, he was just upset. It's the only way to put it. And he had a minor spin and just grazed the wall. And I could see he wasn't happy. And I said, Jack, what's up? And he goes, this age versus youth thing is pissing me off. And I said, why? And he goes, well, I haven't had an incident all year. And Scott Sharp, who was his teammate, has one almost at every race, in practice or something. And he said, and for him, it's a badge of honor because everybody says, oh, the young Charger. I do it, and they go, he's a veteran, he should know better. It was just so fun to listen to him grouse here. But Hibbett has gone through on Jeremy Fairbairn. And remember, Camden, with Morgan not being here, Camden is in a good position here. And the thing that got me was, Piatek needs a pretty good run here. He wasn't, but Cam Eben was one who had struggled, in terms of where he finished. And Deacon had a good opportunity here. And some of these guys that were looking really, really good, in particular Josh Soto, who we know is fast but had a miserable event at Barber, is down the order again. And, that is uncomfortable at best. Boy, you got some good battles going on here.
Yeah, some great fights.
Scorpione.
Oop, little contact there from Court, and Friedhofer's going to cross him over and under out of turn one. And you bring up a good point that, this early in the season to have a bad race is, look at this fight here for third. Ortiz past Fairbairn, who seems to be fading at this stage. Tries to keep the nose in, and he will, but it's so early in the season to be giving up points on lap one in a race. It's a mistake that I hope these drivers won't make again, at least en masse like they did tonight, but sometimes you just have nowhere to go. This is a great battle between these two, but they're giving up lots of times to Hibbett. 1.6 seconds back now they are from second place.
Yeah, they're still side by side, and of course now you're going to get down into turn 10, and if you don't just, there you go. I think that was the smart move there by Ortiz. Was just to breathe out of it, but that loss all the way down that straight. Here comes, is that Rick Segrini alongside?
It's Rice Puto. Rick Segrini's trailing.
Rice Puto, yeah. Well, this is going to be interesting, as Rice Puto is maybe going to get a little help from Rick Segrini here.
Oh, too tight of a line here, though, for the 87. He's not going to make the corner. He does somehow. He got it slowed down, but that's such a shallow entry that you have to just slow down another 10 miles an hour to make that tight radius.
Yeah, the only thing that helped him there was that up on the outside, you can see there that Rice Puto and those guys were also sort of frozen by it. As we go back to Skip Brock, who is in a scrap right now as he's working his way up. Whew, these guys are going after it. That's Brock right on the back of Andrew Gilliland. Brock in that blue car with the yellow stripes, Gilliland in the white car with the red hood markings, if you will. There he is. Very talented young.
He's up
to
to
7th, 8th, and 9th.
To 7th now after starting 11th, and love the American flag flavored gloves he's got on.
Yeah, that's fun.
See the other wheel rim he's got just behind his elbow there. He's got a Formula style wheel rim that he'll put on when he inevitably drives some sort of prototype or open wheel cars. But tonight it's the round rim because you're going to be using all angles of it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the TDC marking, but the rest of it, yeah, as you said, you are going to be working that wheel.
Yeah, it was fun to watch him turn in, and you could watch the wheel kind of hunt right and left as he was looking for the grip for the car to set. And as soon as it sets, you got to be back on power because it'll cost you a lot if you don't. Ortiz by Fairbairn in turn one opens the door for Rice Puto. He's going to jam the nose to the inside here, Greg, but now what do you do?
Yeah, you're going to be just trapped on the outside here. Rick Segrini is coming up to try and work with him, but let's see what Jordan does. Now they're all just line astern, and I think that was the wise thing because to try and force your way through turn 3 here, not really wise, but man, have they opened up a sizable margin here, haven't they? You look at Rick Segrini, the top 5 or all 6, excuse me, all covered by a second. Then it's another 6 seconds back to that battle with Brock Gilliland, Rosencroft, and De Las Casas.
Good little scrap here for position. We're running out of laps. About a 14-lap race is what we're expecting in each of these tonight. We're on lap 11 at the moment as Jim Friedhofer is in the pit lane, and I'm curious as to why. And And you see the damage on the nose of that car, so he just pulled off, but I think he got the damage somewhere else. It was not on this lap, but
I think he was involved in that crash. He was in the pits for a while, wasn't he, and then came back out?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing that.
Oh, look at this. Brock through now, maybe on Gilliland here. Got the position, and he's there.
If Gilliland can throttle up, if you get passed down here into 10, it's usually easy to open up the opportunity to draft right back by, and he'll do just that here.
Boy, what a pretty counter move by Andrew. Brock not giving it up easy. He's got that nose ahead on the outside. What is he going to do here? Now it'll be the inside here, and he's got position, and Andrew's just got to open it up, doesn't he?
And back to the right, but again, it's hard to maintain overlap here all the while. Look at this, fighting for fourth place now. Contact between Fairbairn and Rice Pudo.
And right in front of them, Ortiz, obviously. And boy, I'll tell you, I didn't realize it was a 5-second gap from Piatek and Hibbett, who are just gone right now. But that tells you how close this battle with Ortiz, Fairbairn, Rice Pudo, and Rick Segrini is right now. They are all covered by something on the order of half a second. This is thought that Brock was going to try and just stuff it down in there.
Racing everywhere right now.
Oh, this is fabulous.
Oh my gosh, no margin between those two bumpers there. And what an opportunity for Piatek to pick up a win if he can maintain the gap back to Hibbett. It's 0.8 of a second. It's not coming down, and it should be about 2 laps to go, maybe 3 this time. So Piatek has an opportunity to snag a race win at a pretty early stage in the season.
And Piatek arguably had one of his worst events ever in this series at Barber. He comes in here 28th out of 30 in the points. And so he needs this to get himself back on track. Rick Segrini now really working as we have 2 laps to go, 2 to go. And when does somebody make the move here? Camden taking a 10th back up front. That's not going to be enough. But this is the battle that I think we're going to see. And we got a bunch of traffic coming. And Brock once again down to the inside. Does he? Oh, and I thought Andrew was going to cut down underneath, and this time I think it was because Andrew realized if I go down inside, like you said, Kyle, you're trapped on the outside of 3. I think he just wanted to try and draft him. But look who's lurking in the background, having cleared all the traffic. Jose De Las Casas, and he's less than 2 seconds behind these guys.
And we're not done here yet either. This has quickly turned into a fierce 4-horse race for 4th place. Make that 3rd, actually, with Ortiz. A little contact there. And the contact looked very soft. And what I mean by that is I saw the 87's bumper disappear into the 311s. That tells me that there's some internet issues at play potentially here for one of these 2 cars. A high ping or something. It also could be me. There's a massive storm about to roll through Chicago. Well, not massive, but it's a fierce one, but very small, so it should pass quickly. But that was weird-looking contact.
It was. I was looking at it too, going, how did neither of them have damage at all? So I think you're right. It looked like, because Jose, as we have the white flag coming out here, Jose had a little bit different line and had to overslow just a bit. And I think that just caught him out a little bit by surprise. But
boy, here we go. Turn 1.
There it is.
Ortiz.
Rick Segrini trying to inside, outside. Where do I want to go here? Ooh, big wiggle from Fairbairn under the brakes. Rice Pudo is right there. Boy, it's so tough if you don't get that pass done into 1. Really difficult here. I mean, maybe into 3 if you've got the serious overlap. But up front, Hibbett, he has trimmed that down to under half a second on Piatek now for the lead.
He's running out of corners, though, and I think
he is.
His last good passing opportunity is now behind him, but he is close enough that if Piatek misses a shift or something, he'll be on top of him into turn 5 and 6 for the last time, and for 4th place. Gosh, this is so tight.
Oh, yeah, look at Rick Segrini. Thought he had it for just a second there. I think Ortiz is taking that little tighter line in, and then he's overslowing a la Morgan Burkhardt a little bit to just try and park his competitors and not give them any shot at a big move here. Now, Hibbett, what's his shot? What's his opportunity here? Into turn 9, last turn. Rolling a lot of speed, runs wide, gathers it up, but that's probably going to cost it here. Although he didn't lose much, but to the line, Piatek does get that win, and man, did he need that. And here's that battle behind, and Ortiz with all of that going on. Was it Dean who's going to get that spot? I think Rick Segrini just literally nosed him out, didn't he?
He did. I think Rick Segrini is going to get 5th. over Fairbairn by 9/1000ths of a second between those two. That's about as close as they can get in Miatas at Summit Point.
Yeah, wow. And then Skip Brock held on after he got in front, the whole race battle in front of Andrew Gilliland, then Wozencroft and Jose de las Casas. An impressive top 10 for Jose. That is pretty cool. Here you see it here. You can see the margins, the top two with those side-by-side runs for everybody battling for third coming through the wagon wheel. Just checked out, but man, that battle, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth was stellar. And then Brock, Gilliland, Wozencroft also had an absolutely fabulous war as well. But Miatek on top.
Well, the early crash took out a lot of cars there. The top 10 had pretty good races, but you start looking down. Beans Forster out, got back on the racetrack, but down in 19th. Josh Soto, Cam Eben also involved in incidents on the opening lap. But here's the drivers that really suffered. Deacon Greenfield was off to a very good start. Murphy Nichols got a great launch in that 55. He ended up skyward out of turn 3, coming off the bumper of one of those spinning cars. Jim Friedhofer, late collision, ends his night. Sawyer Richards and Court Schmidt also out. Gianni Morrow out as well in that first lap crash. So that was a big one on the opening moments of this race, and we're going to have to do another standing start, which means that if you didn't learn anything last time, well, now you got to apply what you learned this time.
Yeah, the other thing I was looking at here is Beans, who started in he came in here second in the points on the weekend, and now has had that really tough finish way down the order a bit by his standards, and he was looking like maybe, having a shot, being right in that championship contending. Now obviously you get drops, and if he could put it together again, it's great. But man, you don't want to just be behind the game right out of the gate in the opening few races of the season.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, this isn't really a track that you want to have a drop at, right? You want to reserve the drops for the mulligans you need at a track that you're not very experienced with, or that you've got maybe a poor result because you don't have the pace. You don't necessarily want to use the drops on crashes and things. That's what they're there for, but ideally you'd like to drop thirds and fourths and things as you dominate the season. But this is going to be a drop race, I fear, for a lot of drivers that are going to be in the battle for the championship this season. But again, the standing start thing throws some chaos into the mix. The one thing that it might actually help with is that opening corner. Now, I know we crashed out of turn 3, but you can't build a run or cheat the start in any way. Everyone gets the green at the same time, so it kind of reduces a lot of the juking and jiving down to that first corner.
That, and you're also arriving at that first corner just a little bit slower because you haven't been rolling through turn 9 up to that start straight. So it really does a couple of nice things. As you said, everybody has kind of an, even launch, if you will, but you're not approaching that first turn at such pace that you can negotiate a little quicker. Clearly, though, you're at normal speed heading into turn 3, and all hell breaks loose there. Well, and the problem is we've seen, haven't we, Kyle? It's the second race when things tend to get a little crazy. So let's hope everybody will sort of tamp things down a bit here.
Well, usually the second race is busier, if you want to call it that, because everyone got overconfident from race 1. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily in this race, but it's possible. The thing to note, though, is that crash at turn 3 wasn't because someone ran wide and came back on the racetrack, how I thought we'd see a crash over there. It was just two guys going for the same place on the racetrack, and it created a blockage over a blind crest. That's never going to end well, and it certainly didn't in that first race.
Yeah, absolutely right. And just getting back to that first race, as we talked about, it was such a tough opening round for Olivier Piatek, and this is exactly what he needed. One, not just to get himself some good, valuable points and everything, but I think confidence. When you come in and you start the season and you have the truly bad, and it wasn't his fault. He got taken out in a couple of wrecks. Now to have the opportunity with a win here and start up front and really be able to go after it. But here's the thing, and I would hope that we are going to see, Kyle, that the drivers in that third, fourth, fifth, sixth group, whoever it might end up being, at the start, will not be doing that side-by-side racing really early and letting two of the drivers just check out. And I would think that, these drivers are certainly experienced enough to look at that and go, well, that was dumb. And let's just try and stay and make it a 6-car battle for the lead and then see what happens. It's
so tempting to get involved in a battle for 5th or for 7th or 10th or 12th, but you're right. I mean, you kind of have to work together, and this is a corner I'm going to blame for a lot of that, because when you come down here through turn 4, look at where it's going to track you out. The cars are coming at you in this shot you see here. When you track out, your center track usually even further to the left, so you're braking on an overtake line, right? If you're braking with carrying speed there, you're already to the inside of the car that you're battling. So this corner creates creates a lot of opportunity, especially after a straightaway where you can use some draft. What that means is you're never satisfied sitting back there because you feel like Superman downhill with a draft into a heavy braking zone. You see a lot of surprise maneuvers down here, and that's what gets drivers caught up in battles that sometimes aren't wise to be in.
Right, and this is, one of those classic corner complexes that the 4-5, 6 even as you approach it here, but 4-5 in particular, that you have to race differently than you would qualify on it. When nobody is trying to pass you, you're not in a door-to-door race because you'd want to come through, swing back right a little bit, and then really set up 4-5 and get yourself placed for 6 like that. But as you said, you've got somebody that's got a head of steam right behind you. If you drive that line, they are absolutely going to go straight to the apex there of turn 5, and you're just going to be frozen on the outside. Or if you don't sense it coming and you turn in, you're going to get clouded.
And we saw, some battles even towards the tail end of the race for the lead down at Paddock Bend, which is the last corner on the racetrack. And there's some pavement runoff out there. And I think we mentioned this in qualifying, but all the pavement here is fair game. So all of that, even if you're outside the line and the curbing, is considered racetrack. That's where the cone is placed. Thank goodness those cones are not run-overable like they usually are in iRacing, because they wouldn't exist probably after lap 1 with how much drivers are pushing the limits. But you can carry good speed down into turn 1 there. We saw Camden Hibbett almost apply it. He just turned in a little early to try to get that mid-corner run and just paid for it in the gravel on exit. But we saw how close he got. Despite all that, he could have maybe gotten to the lead had he just not used up all of his energy on the entrance to that corner.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's a great way to put up, because when you use that level of energy on entrance, something's going to give somewhere, right? And I love that this track, apparently, they have decided to use in terms of runoff and what's legal and the like, use the Mario Andretti school approach that we talked about at Barber, that if you don't want me to drive on it, don't pave it. So here, if it's paved, have at it.
Yeah, they don't give you a ton of pavement runoff, but the little bit that you get is all fair play. Now, contrast that with a place like Watkins Glen, where if you don't enforce that, you end up having drivers go pretty much to Ontario to make it through the first corner there.
Exactly.
So, here it's a little bit less egregious to run out wide. But you mentioned turn 3. That is a corner that isn't enforced, at least in iRacing in the traditional sense. You will pick up yourself an off-track out there, Greg, so that will count against you. But you have to go pretty far to get a slowdown. And so drivers especially, it's not even necessarily for speed. It's just sometimes you get lazy. and you just kind of unwind the steering wheel a little bit, and that can mean a lot of speed for you. Anyway, time to go race again. Jorge Ortiz did not make the grid.
Oh, boy.
Time to go racing, Greg.
And we're off. We're green. Standing start. Bad start for Rice Pudo. And there goes Fairbairn and Rick Zagrini right by him. Maybe even Skip Brock. He moves over to cover, and Andrew Gilliland, as a result, is going to swing to the outside. But already Piatek and Hibbett pretty much have line astern. And if Rick Zagrini fights inside Fairbairn too much, those lead two are going to just ease away again here. There's Sean Reyes in the number 29. And I don't see Ortiz anywhere.
No.
So
didn't make the grid, didn't join afterwards. So we're all the way up to turn 3, and with 28 cars in this race versus the 32 we had in the first one. Car off in the background in a big way. That's Cam Evan hard into the tire barriers with the right side.
That's look at the damage to that car. That's the second race. And I mean, he had problems in one of the races at Barber too. He has got to be gutted. We know how fast he is. That's just frustration central right there, no question.
Look at this mess back here. A lot of those full send Sims liveries back here. Schmidt isn't one of them.
Got right into the back of the 73 there.
This math ain't mathin'. I don't know about this.
Oh, man. I like that. This math ain't mathin'. Nice. Nice. Yeah, this is a great little scrap back here, isn't it? 70 of L.D. Sharp, the orange car. There's Court Schmidt right behind him. There's Buttermore. And he's under attack from Clatterbach.
For the lead. Here comes Hibbett.
Oh, Hibbett not wanting to waste time. And this is exactly what Fairbairn, Rick Zagrini, and Rice Pudo wanted. This side-by-side battle. And I think you just saw a very smart play there. But it really, even that little bit, didn't it? Look at this. That group is on them. And I think Piatek said, he could see it coming, lifted to try and just keep their momentum alive into the turn. But Fairbairn was having none of it. Rick Segrini and Rice Pudo are now going to work together furiously, I would think. And here's that tricky math again.
Oh, trouble.
And does he get the save done? He does. Kind of.
Tucker
Hang on to it.
Yeah. 173, little contact there with Jose de las Casas, and Jose had a bit of an awkward turn 1. I saw him a little sideways, so he lost some positions and wasn't about to give that one up in turn 3.
Yeah, boy, here we go. It's on once again here. There's Beans, and of course Beans, he's already up to 11th. So, and he fought himself back to the pack a little bit here, and he is only 2 behind him is this guy, Deacon Greenfield, who started 20th, and he's up to 13th already. And I think he might be a little nonplussed here because he got caught out in that Schmalz.
Forster trying to make up ground on De Las Casas here through turn 10, and he got alongside. I don't know that he's going to clear him, and they kind of swerved at each other there a little bit. And
yeah,
lead again, just keeping an eye on these two. The moment.
Fairbairn is there. Look, with that draft, look at Rick Segrini and Rice Pudo. We have what we wanted, a 5-car scrap for the lead. Now we've got them 5 abreast. Okay, I was exaggerating a little, but in this battle here, which is absolutely stellar, Beans Forster working his way up, did get through on De Las Casas. So that puts Beans into the top 10. And here comes Jean Reyes down inside Soto. Soto also trying to put one together, and he's got the long run off here.
Yeah, that's going to cost him some time. He's going to lose another spot here to Hayden Manis in the 65. And otherwise, this has been a much calmer start to this race. We've only got 2 cars out, Charles Vaccaro and Cam Eben, who we saw get the wall out of 3 on the opening lap. 3rd place, Jordan Rick Segrini wants it from Fairbairn, and this is the battle that Piatek and Hibbett need to break away.
Exactly, and Rick Segrini, boy, I'll tell you, I know Fairbairn doesn't want to give it up, but boy, this side-by-side, this is what happened last time. Oh, and Rice Pudo wants the inside at 9. Realized that wasn't probably going to work, but look at the gap, just that fast. It goes from under, about 2-3 tenths of a second up to a second from Hibbett and Piatek back. And I understand, man, you think I'm faster, let me through. And the guy in front of you says, no, I just had a little mistake, I'm faster. And pretty soon the 2 guys out in front say, no, we're faster.
Just need the strongest locomotive to pull the train. And
yeah, exactly.
You're spent all the time in the yard figuring out which order they go in. There's other freight that should be shipped, Greg, and right now these front 2 have just set sail. And they're playing the game, too. They're working together so well that they're not leaving an opportunity for anybody to come run them back down.
No, they're not. It's pretty mistake-free. I mean, they're running really close concert. And I got to remember to rewatch this and write that metaphor you just had. It was long but accurate. I liked it.
And through turn 6 and 7 now, this is that long right-hander. And Rick Segrini picked up a little time there in that sector.
He did. That line that he has worked really well. And how about a shout out here to Gilliland and Brock, who glommed on to the back of the group of those front runners. A little bit of a gap back to Wozencroft, but Andrew doing a really nice job here sticking with Fairbairn.
Eat the curb there on the inside of 10.
Yeah, eat the curb, chow the cone, get on with it.
Yeah, they're pretty smooth around here, so you can, with the exception of maybe the apex of 3, and it's smooth, but it's tall.
Yeah.
You can use them quite a bit to help rotate the car. But Rick Segrini now, leading this charge, has kind of a run down. Well, we'll see Rice Pudo overshoot turn 1. That's going to open the door for Fairbairn, but Segrini acting like the draft bridge between the front 2 and the rest of the field, and that's caught everybody back up.
Yeah, now I thought for a minute Rice Pudo was going to try and stay outside. He knew that was going to cost them, so he just got back in line once again. And love these corners where they come back on themselves just a little bit. It makes it so easy to really overshoot it. And it's fun to watch as they come through here. And really that margin at the front has gone again. And let's see now if Rick Segrini, with that line he used here through the wagon wheel previously, where he opened it up on Fairbairn a bit, and he's doing it again, but not gaining noticeably on Piatek, is he?
I think he's close enough now that he's in the draft. I just don't know how much it's going to gain him. It's not going to be a The draft here isn't a free pass to pass somebody. It's not going to make up that much of a gap, but it will keep you in tow if you're a tenth or two off a lap. And Beans Forster and Elliott Burton trading spots, and I say trading because Burton just pulled over to the right, stomped on the brake pedal and let Forster go. Maybe he thinks that he's quicker and he can catch Rosencroft and bring them up to the front group as Piatek has a look at the leader, Greg.
Oh, well, here we go. This is going to be interesting here, isn't it? Down to the inside. He's got the position. How hard is Camden going to fight him around the outside? Ooh, Rick Zagrini trying to roll that outside, but he opened the door up, but he did carry more speed as Fairbairn had to pinch his exit just a little bit. And these two guys up front are still side by side. And now Hibbett is going to take it back again into turn 3. But Piatek cuts underneath, and he is going to have position here. He'll be on the outside a little bit through 4, but he's got position solidly for 5. If he can stay there now, and oh, Hibbett was going to shut the door and close it, and he realized if he did, there was probably going to be a little contact. Look at this. This is bringing Wozencroft right back into it, and Beans is at the back of this group, not too far off. Yeah, this is what we wanted in that first race.
Yeah, great racing here through that wagon wheel area, and Piatek is going to have another look at Hibbett here. But Hibbett closes the door for a moment. Piatek's going to open it at 10. This is a huge opportunity for Rick Zagrini. If I'm in that 108, I sit back here, I wait for these two to run side by side, and I bounce on it through turn 10. Here we go. Contact between the leaders.
Yes, and that moved Hibbett way offline, and here comes Rick Zagrini. Bryce Puto tucking right behind him. We're 3 abreast down the front straight. Rick Zagrini at the line, officially in the lead. And Bryce Puto, I think, has got position too. And look at Gilliland trying to get up and maybe help out Camden. And Piatek absolutely stuffs that. Wow, what a move there. And you know what? That started by Piatek. Basically, that whole thing started by Piatek as he came through 8 and how he squared up to get through 9. And then wisely tucked in behind him and used that little draft and popped the nose out. When this settles a bit, I hope we can go back and see that, because that was really brilliant by Olivia.
Yeah, Piatek just took the baseball bat to the hornet's nest there at turn 10. It just absolutely lit everybody up. I mean, that's racing. Sometimes your attempt to overtake is going to hurt you, but go back again to this was down into 5, but we'll fast forward here a little bit as they came through turn 9.
Right here now. Oh, go back just a little bit more if you can. Go back to his exit from 7 and 8. There you go. And watch what he does here. Can you see how he pops way over, then turns, gets to the throttle a little sooner. Hibbett moves over. He takes that little bit of toe, but he's still got the momentum and speed, and that is what gave him that little bit of a nose alongside. And that gave him the turn in here. And then he really ate the inside curve. There was that little touch. Look at this.
I mean, this is fantastic. And Bryce Puto assisted Jordan Rick Zagrini along. And while he did that, I don't know how long it's going to last for, because they're under fire again into turn 1. Half the race down, half to go. And it's a battle for second behind Rick Zagrini.
Yep, and Bryce Puto up on the outside, Hibbett on the inside here. And if this stays put, it should be okay for Bryce Puto. Unless there's enough. He's getting a nice side draft and even a little draft there from Rick Zagrini. Wow. That was some great stuff too. But look at that. That side by side through that turn gave Rick Zagrini that little bit of an edge. He's such momentum here. And that allowed him. Look at Gilliland way down to the inside on Piatek, and somehow they made it through.
Little front to rear contact at the tail of that group, I think, with the 87, the 32 maybe, just a little push and shove, but they all get out of it all right. Forster now is on the defense.
He's up at his 6th.
Fairbairn jumps on the brakes, and I think he has either broken something. It looks like there's some maybe suspension damage on that 87.
Oh, man. But, Hibbett was thinking it there, and when Rick Zagrini, when those two guys behind him went side by side through 3, and it gave him that little bit of a nose ahead, he was able to drive the qualifying line through 4 into 5, and it gave him about 5 car lengths briefly. But now Bryce Puto was coming back, and Nicholas, He too, after a sort of a problematic first race, not horrible, but had a pole and then just dropped back in the first race and couldn't really recover from that. He too, if he wants to be in this championship, wants to get just the momentum right in here. Drops, points, whatever, but just get the momentum back into your circle here and get back in front. Piatek, big off.
So the battle for the lead, which was Piatek and Hibbett, they've now dropped to third and fourth after the battles the last few laps. Rick Segrini didn't even defend that run into 5 as Hibbett drives into the back there of Rice-Budo for a moment.
But look at what Gilliland did here on Piatek.
Yeah, on the outside, but it's tough to hold the line out there. It might even open the door for Forster.
Yeah, Beans has position. Now Andrews has got to stay put. Force that inside. Hold your line here. This is going to be tough.
If he can keep the overlap on Beans, see he's a little frustrated by that. You got enough time to think on these straightaways with these MX-5s, but he did exactly the right thing. He held that was genius, honestly, Greg. What he did there, you see what he did? He held the 23 to the inside, made him compromise his corner, then jumped on the brakes early, crossed him over. That was a veteran move there by Gilliland. That was cool.
That sure was, and it's bringing Skip Brock right with him. Beans could find himself frozen on the outside and go right back to the 7th spot from his 5th here. 3 abreast at the turn into 1.
It's going to get squeezed here.
Yeah, boy, and see, and there goes that group up front. Top 4 are now checking out here as we have, God, this has flown by, Kyle. 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, quick laps. Oh, little contact there. I was going to mention that entrance to turn 3, you can end up in the grass really easily there. But Gilliland and Forster continue to battle very fiercely. And for second place, this is bare-knuckle brawl here between, trouble, the 0-3s. Rice-Budo's gone in the wall.
Huge hit. Massive damage, and he had worked his way brilliantly up into position. He is going to be beside himself here.
Gosh, that was
what happened.
That was one of the worst crashes we've seen.
Yeah, just speared up. Oh, that's a hard hit. And I don't know how to read this one from the angles we've seen.
We'll maybe look at it from above, and they'll give us a slightly better perspective. But if the trees will give us a view of it. Not really. They just kind of approached each other at the center of the track.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was a high-speed impact.
I hate to say it, for Nicholas, but it almost looked to me like the back end started to step out before there was contact there.
Just met in the middle, and
yeah, exactly.
Big crash for Rice-Budo. That'll be a drop, I imagine, 25th place at the moment. And 5 minutes to go, and then there were 3 at the front.
Yeah, they just keep dropping here, don't they? And it's Rick Segrini, Hibbett, and Piatek in that little bit of gap. Skip Brock, what a race he's having. Up into 4th, Beans in 5th, Andrew 6th. Rosencroft having a great race here in 7th.
And for the lead,
look at Skip.
Hibbett on the outside of Rick Segrini, but they'll put him on the inside for 5, and Rick Segrini's not been defending this. He'll leave the lane open.
And he's going to try and keep that overlap. He's got it done. And now I would think he just float out a little bit. Oh, and here comes Piatek, but now, of course, he'll be on. He's got to keep this little bit here, and he thinks better of it because I think he knows, Skip Brock is less than a second behind him here. But here we go. It is side by side once again. This is going to give a double draft to Piatek. And that and they settle it before they get to 10. Smart move. That puts Camden in front. But Rick Segrini got the little bit better exit, I think. Where does Piatek go? Zach can decide really who leads here. Down into turn 1. Camden at the line. Piatek decides I'm going to get them both.
Well, he's going to go along the left side of the road. 3 wide for the lead. 3.5 minutes to go. Little contact there from Rick Segrini. Piatek bails out. Camden Hibbett crossover to the inside.
Piatek really turned in dramatically and almost got collected by Beans. It was one of those deals that, Beans was staying as far to the inside as he could. But look at this, side by side, heading into turn 3. Tough to go through this one side by side. That is respectful racing.
And Piatek will take the opportunity to drive by Rick Segrini on driver's right. But if Jordan can stay there, a little slide there by Piatek right onto the racing line and right in behind for second.
Boy, and Brock Actually got passed by a really on-form Andrew Gilliland here. He has been superb today. Mosencroft right there as well, but we're back to a good 4-car battle as Beans has glommed onto the back of this group with about just under 3 to go, 3 minutes. And you know what? Beans might be in the catbird seat here in a way.
This track has been so racy tonight.
It has been. It's been fabulous.
You have to compromise so much in that middle sector that you gain something in one place, you have to give it up somewhere else, which isn't always the case at some of the bigger tracks. But Gilliland going defensive now for 5th place, and Skip Brock Jr., Andrew Wozencroft. This will be a 3-horse race for 5th place. 2 laps to go on the board.
See the damage to the back of Gilliland's car? I don't know how much that's affecting him here. But gets to the inside of Brock, nonetheless, stays there. Oh, you know what? It's not damage. It's just black. It's a black part of the graphic. Sorry about that, Andrew.
Well, let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah.
Without any.
That's not a sure thing.
No, without any nose damage. I think actually Hibbett's got some on his nose. No, well, it's got a little crinkle in it, but nothing major.
Nothing major. 2 to go, folks. 2 to go. Here we go. Into the wagon wheel. Side by side. Oh, Piatek trying to make it work around the outside. Couldn't get it done there. Slots right back in. Beans right there for the fight for 4th. Gilliland has closed up a bit as well. There they are. Gilliland right there, and there's Brock right behind him.
Through turn 9 and setting up for 10. Piatek's got a little run, but I think he'd be wise to sit on it here and set up for the front straightaway, and looks like he'll do just that.
Boy, Beans had a problem. Gilliland's coming through. I don't know what happened to Beans, but he just lost a ton of momentum.
Maybe missed a shift.
Yeah, white flag. We are on the last lap. 3 cars for the lead. That potential misshift or whatever for Beans has dropped that group back noticeably. And here we go. Piatek wants the lead now. It's going to go in deep to the outside. Hibbett, side by side, right behind him. Rick Segrini. Oh, I think Piatek got a little bit too wide, maybe. Or did he? He had those right side tires, and the left's right on that outside curb. No, he's in position. Rick Segrini trying to decide where I go. Camden going to fight around the outside. Ooh. And again, not a lot of room given there for Piatek, and it has given Hibbett the lead. And here comes Rick Segrini for 3rd, Kyle.
Oh, Hibbett covered off the inside. That was a late defensive move. He might get a shot for it. He does, but he keeps the car straight into the wagon wheel for the final time. And Piatek is going to have one last opportunity at turn 10 to find some overlap. And Jordan Rick Segrini, I still think, is in the passenger seat of all this. He can't do much about it, but he can pick up the pieces at the end.
Exactly right. And you know that these guys up front, they want this win here, and they've got exactly 1 corner to negotiate. How is this going to play out? Rick Segrini got a really nice run. As you said, couldn't do anything with it there. Who's pushing too hard here? Everybody is. Onto the front straight we go. And look at Gilliland. Does he have the run on Rick Segrini? I don't think he got it, but so close. What a drive by Andrew Gilliland. Hibbett, you can see there, that little smile, just sort of, he doesn't often smile, but when he does, it's just sort of this not a smirk, but just this little smile creeps in. And look at the battling going on behind here. Fabulous stuff. Salyer and Schmidt, excuse me, coming to the line. Salyer getting that one.
Wow.
But the margin between Rick Segrini and Gilliland for that final spot on the podium, 24 milliseconds.
That was fun, and Rick Segrini did grab the podium there. But what a race. That was a fun one.
That was awesome.
You could tell drivers were getting frustrated with each other, but that's just the nature of this. You have enough time. I mean, when you're driving some of the faster GT cars, Greg, unless you're at a place like Daytona or Le Mans, you've got to be hands on the wheel all the time, focused in. But here in an MX-5, you've got opportunity to say, hey, man, what was that all about? You get a second to think about it. But it's because the racing is so fierce that you're all trying to work together. And when someone doesn't, it can be a little bit off-putting, but man, it was a fun battle tonight watching these guys go at it, and wins tonight for Camden Hibbett and Olivier Piatek.
Yeah, whenever that group in 3rd or back, would think about going side by side, they do it briefly and then they come right back in. And that just kept this great group right at the sharp end of things. That was so fun. You can see there, Hibbett, Piatek, Rixagrini, the podium, a breakout race for Andrew Gilliland. Beans was as high as fourth and then slipped back a spot. Again, Andrew just driving brilliantly here. Almost got third. And how about that drive by Josh Soto coming from well deep up into eighth?
Yeah, similar story there.
Deacon Greenfield.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly. Deacon Greenfield in that 20 car up to P10 after starting the night not really in the way that he was hoping with that accident on the opening lap. Jose de las Casas had a fun battle. He ends up 11th. And we noted the Tucker Salyer and Court Schmidt fight all the way to the stripe, 14th and 15th for those two. And the rest of the field finishing out inside the top 20. And I think notable poor races here. Murphy Nichols, I didn't exactly see what happened to the 55, but had good pace at the starts of these things. Couldn't finish it out. Cam Eben with that big crash in the early stages. And then Vaccaro and Ortiz. Ortiz never took the green in that second race. Not sure why.
Yeah, interesting. After having such a run in that first one. Any chance we could go, and I hate it for Leonardo Scarpioni with that amazing run in the first race and then got involved in an incident in the second race. Go back to the with a lap and a half to go as they were coming through the wagon wheel. I'm just interested what happened to Beans because he was solidly in fourth and pretty clear of Gilliland and Brock.
We'll have to skip ahead here a little bit, so bear with me, but yeah, this was lap 10, so this will be 11. Was it lap 12 that he had that issue?
I think so, yeah. With they were coming around to start the last lap.
Not quite yet. Quickest lap times ever at Summit Point today.
Yeah, that's prototype stuff.
I just didn't mark this, so here's that pass you were talking about, and we can ride on board with Beans, and that'll kind of give us an idea of what happened. Let's listen.
See, it happened even before there. I wonder if he, because they just started driving away.
So he lets Gilliland go, but I wonder. I think he's in fifth gear. Is he not? Okay, so something was going on with the shifting.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yep. It almost sounded like he was just completely in the wrong gear, but no, he just missed it. And I mentioned how critical it was to get it right beforehand. I mean, you have to get it right in turn 7 and 8 because it will cost you all the way around this lap. So that was fun. Let's go back and chat with a couple drivers. Let's talk with Andrew Gilliland because he finished fourth in this one, but Andrew Gilliland had an amazing race. Andrew, tonight we could tell it got pretty fierce at times, but man, it was fun to watch you battle there, especially with Beans Forster at the end. We saw him kind of miss a couple shifts. You got into P4 and then almost had a podium there right behind Jordan Rixagrini.
Yeah, man, that was electric towards the end. I'm so happy. I'm going to cherish this P4 finish for a while, man. This is just great improvement for me, and I'm really excited to be up here in the top 5.
Well, I'll tell you, Andrew, your form at the start of the season has just been there. And, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I just want you to know how close you were to getting a podium. It was 24 one-thousandths of a second, man. And we thought you may have had it there on Rixagrini. So not only did you get past Beans when he held you up a little bit with those missed shifts coming through the wagon wheel, but then you ran those guys down up front on that last lap. That was superb, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was a little bit tough having a little bit of front end damage from a couple of battles prior, but it was awesome, man. I'm really happy.
Well, you should be. You should be. Enjoy this one, and we can't wait to see you at Willow Springs at the next one. The way you're driving, it's going to be a show.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks a lot. All right, let's talk with Jordan Rixagrini, who came home in third in race number 2 and fifth in race 1. Jordan, it was pretty exciting out there tonight for that top spot. You just set up the pass for the lead perfectly. 3 wide down the front straightaway. Take us through your night, especially that second race in the battle for the lead.
Yeah, we kind of lost them right off the start there, and me and Rice Pito got around and had to really work together to get charged to catch up to Camden and Oliver because they were flying up there. And once we got to them, it looked like they were working together, and once we caught them, it seemed like they started wanting to battle. Oliver wanted to get around Camden. He didn't want to be the back car, and when they went too wide through that last corner, just set up a good run, and they were both compromised, and Rice helped push me through, and we got into the lead. And I don't know what happened between Nick and Camden, but something happened, and after that part, I just had a smile on my face the whole rest of the race. That was fun going back and forth over under and each other, and that was more fun than winning the race, to be honest with you. That was a lot of fun going back and forth like that.
Well, it was that much fun for us as well, and just watching how you played that to get to the lead. It was such a neat strategic move. But, there were just moments on this track where it looked like it was so easy to get that momentum nulled a little bit. I really thought you had a chance for a break once you got to the front, and then you got that absolutely great run through turn 3, and you got up into that 4 or 5, and you could drive it like a qualifying lap where you could swing right at the exit of 4 and really hustle it through 5. You got a little bit of a gap, but, I think it was those two guys behind you were able to run together, and that's what probably had them run you down, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. I had a decent sized gap, and I was trying to break the draft going down the straightaways, but the track's just too hard with these cars with the open top. The draft is in effect for so far back. I was right on the edge. I need like a tenth or two more, but they just stuck together too well. They knew what they had to do to catch me, like me and Nick did to catch them, and they got the job done.
Yeah, they did. But I got to tell you, one of the things I really enjoy about watching you race is the respect you give your other competitors. And we just had a little shot there of a couple of guys, running right to the apex curb or the exit curb with somebody on the outside. You always gave everybody just enough room, and to me that speaks volumes. But so a great podium in this one. Well played.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle.
Olivier Piatek comes home second in race number 2, but the highlight of the night for Olivier's first in race 1. Fierce fight, though, in that second race. A lot of aggressive elbows out driving, overs and unders. Jordan Rixagrini in there as well. Take us through that fight there because, race 1, it was just you and Camden, but race 2, it felt like everybody and their mom was out there battling you for the lead.
Yeah, race 1, I honestly just got in a good position, saved tires in the lead, and then was able to pull away in the end, and it was pretty well. But race 2, it was just a big stack up, because once the packs burn 2 or 3 cars, you can't really pull away here. So we're all just stacking up all of that, and then if you go for a move of this track, you bottleneck so hard, and it brings more and more drivers in. So I try and pass Camden, and we'd hold each other up like 5-6 tenths in one corner, and it would bring so many guys in. The more guys in the pack, the more aggressive you have to be to not fall farther back in the pack. So it just bred a whole entire race, just going for every opportunity you can go for, just sending it and all of that.
And I got to ask you, Olivier, you're fast. We certainly know you're fast, but after that really tough weekend, or event, I should say, at Barber, one, you needed this maybe in terms of points, but there's so much racing yet to go. Did you just really, does this feel good to get that flow and momentum and maybe that confidence back and go, all right, I got that win, I can get after it now?
Definitely feels amazing. I've had so much bad luck in FSS my whole time doing this league. And it feels good to get a good weekend together, get some points going, get some momentum going, and I'll hope to carry it into the next round.
We do too, and you're absolutely right. You have always been absolutely superb with your speed and your racecraft, and you've just had, as you said, some horrific luck. And let's hope that's off the shoulders now because you certainly have championship contending pace, bud.
Sure, that's the plan.
Good man.
Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate it. Nice job tonight.
Thank you.
And let's talk with Camden Hibbett, who came home in the top spot here in the second race of the night, but it was P2 in race number 1, Camden. Tonight, at times things got pretty spicy, I got to say, out there. The first race, it was just you and Olivier that just got to battle back and forth there as you separated the rest from the field. But in race 2, elbows out, little side-by-side into turn 4. Nicholas Rice-Puto ends up in the tires. But, all that aside, you come home and pick up another victory here, first of the season this time around.
Yeah, we had 2 very, very different races tonight. The first race was pretty calm. Everybody was just kind of staying in line. And race 2, it was kind of all bets are off, and we started going at it, and it was a lot of fun. I apologize to Nick on the contact and on lap 10, I think it was. And I think, looking back at it, I think it's just a racing deal. But we'll talk about it and move on. And congrats to Oliver on his race 1 win. He was flying. I was saving tires, and then I started pushing with 3 to go, and I caught a little bit each and every lap. And I just couldn't get there quite in time. I think it was a tenth of the line, but I just needed 1 or maybe 2 more laps to actually get the pass done. And then race 2, it was just kind of every man for themselves, and we were going at it really hard. And it was clean racing for the most part, and it was a lot of fun for sure.
Well, it's certainly fun to watch and to call when you guys were all stacked up like that. But you guys, early on, it looked like you guys might make that break once again. And then Olivier decided he wanted to try and pass you. And suddenly that whole group behind you came right back into it. And you guys had an absolutely fabulous battle. But I wanted to point out that, wins are great, but it's points that wins championships. And I know there's lots of drops, but you now have 4 consecutive podiums, including a win. That's, only Rick Segrini has 3 podiums. You are off to a great start once again. It just seems like you've just really found your stride. You showed it last season with that title, and you've lost nothing here, man. Great to see.
No, I appreciate it. It was 3 podiums. I unfortunately got 5th in race 1 at Barber. So as much as I would love for it to be 4 podiums, it was 3.
Yeah.
But it has been a pretty good start to the season. Obviously, Morgan not being here tonight was a good opportunity to score some points.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the field to be this tight tonight, honestly. I thought it was going to be, obviously, it's never easy to score points in this series. I mean, everybody is so close, but there were a lot of cars tonight that could have won that race, way more than I was expecting. And it was a tough points grab. We were talking about it, and if Morgan would have been here, it would have been all-out brawl. I mean, it would have been crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing him hopefully back next week. And we're gonna move on. And like you said, it's been a great start to the season. I still got some work to do. Not necessarily the driving that I want to put out from myself necessarily. I'm still working on trying to find a little bit more of that raw pace. I mean, you look at Morgan and he can drive away from the field. I don't know that I can say that I can do that at this point. So we're going to keep working on it and keep pushing through the rest of the season. And real quick, shout out to Andrew Gilliland. I've been helping him this season with the coaching, and he is made big strides. Congrats on the P4. It was awesome to see him get that finish today.
Well, I'll tell you, I was going to ask you about that because, you're one of the young guys, right, that has come up and earned yourself a championship. And to see his progress at his age, and I mean, he missed the podium by 24 one-thousandths of a second. And to do that after he and Beans had their exchange on the second to the last lap, they both lost time. He got by Beans and then ran you guys down. Now you guys were battling, but still, a breakout event, I think, for Andrew Gilliland. And now I'm not surprised knowing you've been working with him and coaching.
Absolutely. It's been a heck of a run, and he's been getting miles better with each and every week that we've done together. And I'm looking forward to finishing the season, and he'll get that podium before the end of the season. It'll come for sure.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here. Camden, absolutely a superb evening for you.
Thank you.
I gave you an extra podium. I forgot that. I was looking at top 5s instead of podiums here.
All good, no worries.
But, great stuff. Great stuff. And you know what, Kyle? I mean, we saw that on that first race. They talked about there was a breakaway up front. The battle for third on back was as fierce as the one we had for the lead in this one. But when it's for the lead with that many cars, it's always so much fun.
Every time we go to these really neat racetracks in iRacing, it's a lot of fun to go to places like Watkins Glen and Road America and Sebring, but it is nice to head back to kind of where it all begins in an iRacing career. And these tracks are fantastic. There's a reason why iRacing has them as base content, Greg, because it teaches you racecraft. And I think tonight was a great example of that in all the ways, bad and good.
Yeah.
We saw a big mess in the opening race, but that second race was absolutely spectacular. And we're heading to a track that I thought was going to be base content. It was scanned back in 2010. It wasn't built until recently, but Willow Springs out in California. It's sort of like the West Coast version of Lime Rock Park, although a lot faster. It's a club circuit. It's a pretty small facility, Greg, but it is a fast place, and I can't wait for it next week.
Yeah, and it's I believe, one of the longest lived tracks in North America as well. Such history there, and it's going to be absolutely spectacular to get out there. But I'll tell you what, we had some great battling here to be sure. And of course, we've got to wrap things up with a big thank you to Court Schmidt and Full Send Sims for everything that they do here. It is extraordinary, and he just keeps working at it at 100%. Also, of course, thank you to Farah coming on board here last season, and just absolutely great to have them. Their Real World Series is fabulous, and it's one that a family of 4 or a competitor can attend and not break the bank, and it's really exciting. And of course, always 3P Logistics. They are just absolutely phenomenal. And the other partner that's been with us right from the off, of course, is Final Turn Motorsports, an incredible group as well. And finally, we always have to say thanks to Wine Country Motorsports, race gear and equipment at its finest. Want to remind everybody that if you're coming to Willow Springs next Tuesday night with us, but you haven't been there or been there for a while, this Thursday night we're going to have a group practice, an open practice, Willow Springs Raceway. Just go to fullsendsims.com and find it all. For Kyle Heyer and, as always, to Finney and DeCuna for the great efforts that he puts in with our cameras. It has been a pleasure with having you here at this great track. We got another fun one coming up next Tuesday night. We'll see you then.